This is the Asus Rog Ally, a device that was supposed to dethrone Steam Deck. I've been using it for a month, and I do have something to say. This thing has already cost me many hours of my life and many nerves. This Steam Deck killer has many things that make me want to love it, and many things that make me want to throw it out the window. Hating and loving is at the core of this device. It somehow manages to be good and terrible at the same time, especially when I'm holding it and looking at it. This white plastic. Am I the only one who hates how this black screen looks with a white plastic body? And I'm not even sure it's glass. Asus could have at least done it like Sony did with their PS Vita. Flat glass on the whole front panel, but no, they didn't. Yet I must acknowledge the quality of this screen. At 7 inches, it packs quite a punch. 1080p resolution, 400 nits of brightness, and most importantly, 120Hz. I have zero complaints about the display's quality really. It's super sharp, vibrant, and overall really great. Gaming videos, browsing the web, anything. I seriously can't believe that you can watch TikTok on this thing. Crazy. But I didn't really watch TikTok that much. This thing is all about gaming. But gaming on this thing didn't get me as angry and frustrated as the design did. Just look at it, it's ridiculous. This white plastic, sharp edges, ventilation holes, RGB all around, the best and worst of the world of gaming laptops. And that's not a coincidence that I'm bringing the gaming laptops up. Gaming laptops are objectively not very good, especially inexpensive ones. Unless you pay top dollar, you're gonna end up with a plastic, squeaky device that is done to save cost and pack the best possible internals for the price. It works for laptops, but here, it just doesn't make sense. I don't have Steam Deck at hand, but I do have this beaten up PS Vita. And PlayStation Vita feels nicer to hold. Even purely ergonomically, the PS Vita is much nicer. The plastics on Ally are quite cheap, but not cheap like in those things you buy on AliExpress. I just expected more from a $700 device. Yet still, ergonomically and physically, it feels nice. Maybe a tad bit too heavy, but nice. Also, I can say that I'm surprised to see such a good quality of assembly. It doesn't squeak or rattle, it feels really solid, and that's a good thing. It inspires confidence. What doesn't inspire confidence is the unboxing experience. The box is fine, but there's not that much things in the box to talk about. The Ally itself, a 65-watt charger, a cable, and a flimsy plastic stand. This stand is a joke, let me tell you. Plastic, cheap, and kinda useless. Well, we can use it to shoot B-rolls, right? The design for me here is also very strange. On one hand, I like how aggressive it is, how unapologetically gaming-focused it looks, but on the other hand, it feels loud, like it's screaming in my face. I'm only for gaming! And this is a weird combo. I can't shake the feeling that the only thing I can do with it is gaming, despite that it's a real computer running Windows 11. It has a new Ryzen Z1 Extreme processor with 8 cores and 16 threads, 16 gigs of RAM, RDNA-free graphics with 4 gigs of memory, and a 512 gig SSD. It's a really solid computer that can potentially replace a normal, conventional computer. Just connect it to a monitor via Type-C, plug a keyboard and mouse with adapter, and here you go, a normal PC. Just a tad bit hotter and less powerful, and that was actually one of the main reasons for me to buy it. I was tired of my old gaming laptop, and Ally seemed like a good balance between portability and power. A weird choice, but I'm a weird guy, you know? Did it disappoint me? Well, I don't know. It's a mixed bag in terms of replacing the computer. I absolutely can't do anything on such a small screen, especially without a mouse. But the potential is there. I still have to unlock it somehow because the whole process of connecting the monitor now is quite convoluted. To properly connect it, I need an adapter Type-C to HDMI with pass-through charging. Then you can play at 720p on a big screen like in the good old days of PS3. I'd say the best way to play on a larger screen is to use some sort of a portable monitor connected through DisplayPort. Do it that way and you get a PC. Connect a wireless controller and you got yourself a gaming console. I am super optimistic about Ally's capabilities, but I was just too consumed by other things about this thing to fully test it as a computer. Yeah, you're right, I was playing games. The main purpose for this device's existence is exactly what I used it for. This was a refreshing, sometimes shockingly good and shockingly bad experience. experience. For example, the button layout basically mimics the Xbox. All the familiar buttons in all the familiar places, and this is a great choice for layout since all PC games by default have an Xbox game controller layout available. So there is no transition layer or remembering which buttons play different roles. The sticks feel quite good, the buttons are clicky and satisfying, very good. Sticks also have the RGB rings around them, and yes, I can change the color of lights in settings as well as turn them off. Also, those buttons on the back are strange to me. They are not really comfortable and not really useful because of that. I guess with smaller hands it would have been more comfortable, but I don't have those. Small hands, I mean. Not hands in general. I have two of them here. And aside from those back buttons, the ROG Ally sits in them quite comfortable, despite being so damn heavy. For shorter gaming sessions, I had zero problems, but the length of those gaming sessions is a separate topic. If I manage to play longer than an hour without resting my hands on the table or somehow lighten the load, hello tunnel syndrome. Soreness and numbness will be your new best friends, and they come bundled with the ROG Ally. Unfortunately for me, games do not come bundled, but you know. So I have a few games to show you, and the numbers I've got do look both good and bad. Ally has 3+1 performance modes, 9 watts, 15 watts, 25 watts, and if I plug it to power, 30 watts. The more power it uses, the less battery life. Easy. These performance modes basically mean the game complexity. The least demanding games, like platformers, will work fine at 9 watts, while more demanding games will work okay on higher power settings. Now let's take a quick pause and talk about this video sponsor, Caseco. Caseco makes amazing cases for iPhones, and recently they came up with something new, Cloud Cush. This technology changes cases forever. You know how most cases have only edges protected? Well, Cloud Cush protects all sides. It absorbs shock much better than all other cases and keeps my phone safe from accidental drops or falls. Caseco says this case has 3-meter military-grade drop resistance, and I see no reasons to doubt that. What amazed me is how comfortable holding this case is, despite it being so damn resistant. This case is round and very ergonomic, solving the biggest design flaw of modern iPhones. Also, this new case comes in a variety of colors, so you can express your individuality without compromising the safety of your iPhone. Any way you look at it, it's a great case. And right now you can join an exclusive testing campaign, but wait, there is more. You have a chance to win an iPad. Just share a post on social media about your way to relieve stress, tag Caseco and this hashtag, and the iPad can become yours. I will leave all the links to that in the description, as well as a link with a discount from me, so just keep your devices safe and click the link in the description. Demanding AAA games is where Ally has truly surprised me. Most games I've tested work fine, but there's always a catch. There's always some sort of a catch. For example, Marvel's Spider-Man. This game probably surprised me the most. At 720p, it's a pure joy. 50, 60 FPS. I kinda lost myself in swinging for a few minutes while filming, and came back swinging after filming. It just all came together so perfectly. The comfortable sticks, buttons, the display, the speakers here are pretty good. Not gonna lie, they're small but aimed at my face, and the sound feels just about right. Exactly what you'd expect from a handheld, nothing less. It's loud enough to play in a room, but don't even try playing outside on a noisy street without headphones. Oh gosh, I get carried away easily. Back to Spidey, everybody! Yes, I'm playing at 720p. If I switch to 1080p, the experience gets worse. 20 to 30 FPS with stutters. At the lowest settings, I can possibly play at 1080p with the ROG Ally plugged in, but that's not that portable. This trend with resolution is basically present in all games. At 720p, everything's playable and runs fine, but at 1080p, don't even try. That's what I would have said if I didn't find this website. Here, a bunch of unsung heroes gave a list of recommendations of how to properly tweak this game for ROG Ally, which has really improved the experience for me, especially at 1080p. Cyberpunk has really surprised me here. Such a huge and demanding game running on such a small console. The resolution is, of course, 720p. I wasn't even trying going above that. At 720p medium settings, 30 to 40 FPS, most most of the time. I really want to say that it's a pleasant experience, but it appears to me that there is some problem with optimization. While playing, I noticed quite a bit of stuttering, and the objects popping in are not a rare sight. Next up, Horizon Zero Dawn. The game launched just fine, and for a few minutes was showing stable 40 to 50 FPS with rare, occasional stutters. For a few minutes I thought, oh, finally, another AAA game running great. But then all my hopes and dreams came crashing down when the game crashed. Maybe if I used the settings from that website, the game wouldn't have crashed, but I didn't know about the website back then. If there were no such crashes, I'd even dare to say that ROG Ally is a perfect gaming handheld, but it's not. And Jedi Survivor shows that in full. Star Wars games are a funny thing. They look great, but somewhat lack in gameplay and variability. Oh, and optimization. Jedi Survivor since its release was plagued by poor optimization, and nothing has changed since then. In my case, I didn't even manage to launch the game at first. It just wasn't launching. Crashes every second. Black screen, all the things we love about gaming on Windows, right? After some digging, I found the issue. The SSD. I have many games installed, and apparently ROG Ally and Jedi Survivor have some conflicts over space needed to launch the game. Maybe it's Asus's fault or the game developers, I don't know. But it felt really weird and disappointing. There were still gigabytes of free space. What's the matter? After I cleaned up a few dozen gigs, the game managed to launch. But I wish I left it there, because the frame rate wasn't good. Sometimes it managed to hit 30 at 720p low, but most of the time it was lower with an inconsistent frame rate, which was visible even to the naked eye. Well, luckily, the developers of a previous game in the franchise, Jedi Fallen Order, were much more diligent and did a far better job. That's the second game that has got me hooked, like really hooked. I was playing for hours on end, 720p, max settings, 60 FPS, sometimes the frame rate even reached 100 FPS. Technically, very playable and enjoyable. This game is mostly corridors and narrow spaces as far as I noticed, so there is no reason why frame rate should be low. But again, I noticed a few stutters here and there. These stutters just happen without any reason. It can be a heavy scene or a simple one. The stutter can happen in either of them. Maybe the buffer fills up or something like that, no idea. But even with stuttering, I was amazed and had some good time playing. Optimization is like a red thread that goes through all gaming on ROG Ally. And there is a perfect game to show that good optimization of hardware and software matters. Resident Evil Village. I'm gonna compare ROG Ally and MacBook Pro so you could really see how it should be done. This is a 16-inch M1 Pro MacBook Pro, and the game runs flawlessly at 80 FPS. No stutters, lags, object popping, nothing. Absolutely flawless experience. And here is ROG Ally, 720p, the same settings as on the MacBook, yet on Ally the smaller screen allows me to lower the settings without major damage to the image quality. So at low settings, ROG Ally yields 70 to 80 FPS without stuttering. That's on the 25 watt mode. On 15 watt, frame rate will of course be lower. Well, for me, even when frame rate in games was okay, the biggest problem was finding that balance between performance and battery life. Well, it's a computer, what could I expect? So in really demanding games, the battery just disappears in mere minutes. In games like Cyberpunk or Spider-Man, I can call myself lucky if I manage to play over half an hour away from the charger. Luckily, the included charger is 65 watts, which allows to quickly recharge the battery, but a few hours isn't exactly fast. The battery overall is the most disappointing thing about ROG Ally for me. No matter what I play, if that's even a slightly demanding game, the battery dies before I get tired of playing, which on a normal PC happens around the 3-hour mark. I guess that's a pretty good result for a handheld, but if the range for battery life is that huge, from 30 minutes to 4 hours, there's maybe something wrong. Yeah, that's all because of the powerful chip. I'm not judging Asus for using this chip. All I'm saying is that maybe they could have done a bit of a better job with drivers. ROG Ally reminds me of a PS Vita, a technically marvelous product that was killed by the lack of games and optimization. Sony just forgot about their portables, stopped making games, and that killed the device. I hope with ROG Ally, Asus won't make the same mistake, because now it is plagued with small software problems like Windows 11. Valve with Steam Deck did the right thing, a custom version of Linux with a smart translation layer and it works amazingly. Here, Asus chose the way the Chinese manufacturers do, just use the basic Windows 11. And this inherently brought all the problems. Games sometimes open without video, Steam opens in a console mode at one moment, and in a PC window at other moments. The keyboard from Windows, constant reminders and suggestions to install Microsoft Office software experience is not very good. All Asus did was take standard Windows 11 and slap on top of it its own launcher. And unfortunately, Windows always finds a way to make the user experience worse. Asus really needs to pay developers for optimization for Ally like Valve does with Steam Deck. Or they can just take the recommendations from that website and embed them into the system as default settings for each particular game to relieve users of all the hassle. At the same time, Asus needs to constantly improve software, update drivers, because if they don't do that, in a year where a 3-year-old Steam Deck will wipe the floor with ROG Ally simply because it has a community. The community is what really matters. And I'm not sure that Asus is building a big community at $700 a piece. Because the price is steep and the experience doesn't fully justify it. Some people really love ROG Ally, and that website shows that, but there still are some things that don't allow Ally to fully spread its wings as a product. Steam Deck is cheaper, and it has a community and a ton of fully optimized games, and it has a better system, better battery life, better ergonomics and all. I think if you already have Steam Deck, there is no reason for you to buy ROG Ally. And if you really want a gaming device that will be portable and work as a computer, maybe a good gaming laptop will be better. PlayStation 5, Xbox. It is really hard for me to recommend ROG Ally, but something in me wants to. I want this device to become more popular, to have a community, to have a successor. I really do, but right now I can only say that it's a risky business buying this thing. If you are ready to trade comfort for FPS, go for it. And I will continue testing and playing games. I already bought the damn thing. Peace out.